And I'll add a couple of documents into the chat. So the agenda for today, as well as a try that again. Okay, there's your agenda. And okay, and if you, I didn't share this yesterday, forgot, but if you need to get a hold of me at all through email, I'll put my email in the chat too. Okay. So today we're going to talk about instruction in Canvas. So how to basically set up your course and assignments and organize content. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. So just a recap of yesterday, you get into Canvas you can get into Canvas using your employee portal and click the Canvas button, and then you'll be taken immediately to your Canvas dashboard. And you will see a number of unpublished courses there. So keep in mind, we added your subgroup to Canvas last month. And so it pulled in fall of 22 and spring of 23. So you'll see some things on there that you just haven't, courses that you have not interacted with at all, obviously, from the past. And then you'll see if you're teaching anything in the summer, that will be there. And whatever you have for fall should be there. If you think something's missing, let me know. And we will look into that. So does that answer your question, Heather, about how to get into Canvas?
I'm there right now.
And then Heather, since you were not able to attend yesterday, I'm going to put the training guide from yesterday in there. I think I just didn't title that introduction yesterday. So that one's from yesterday. So you'll have some information there from yesterday. Okay. So any questions or clarification from yesterday, those of you who attended? Okay. A couple things, Heather, since you weren't here, that I just do want to touch on. All student enrollments are handled, are done through whatever's in Sage by the registrar. Students are never manually added into Canvas. If you add a student or drop a student in Sage, that should pick up within an hour or so. It's pretty fast. If a student withdraws from your course, you will still see them under the people for the course, but you'll see that they've been withdrawn. They don't ever get fully removed. So I forgot to mention that yesterday to everybody. So if you see anything, TAs or academic listeners, that has to be done through a JIRA ticket. And we can add those. I can add those for you, but we do have to have it through a request system. We've had some issues that we've uncovered where people have been added to courses and they haven't gone through the proper HR channels in terms of being a TA or an academic listener or for FERPA. So now we have that locked down so that we can just make sure that we vet that better. And let's see, what else was I going to say? So anyway, if you have any issues with your course, if the course is missing or isn't named correctly, then you need to reach out to the registrar to fix that, because it's something in how they've put it in Colleague, and then everything that they do is in a system called Colleague, and then that syncs with Canvas. So But if, you can always put a JIRA ticket in and we'll direct you to the right person if you're not sure who to talk to. And the only other thing I mentioned yesterday, Heather, is if you have kind of a Canvas emergency and it's after hours or on a weekend, go ahead and put a JIRA ticket in, but you can always email me. And if I'm available during the off hours, then I'll help you as best I can. Okay. All right. So one thing I neglected to go over with you yesterday, I realized, is discussion. So we're going to start today with discussions in a course. So as I showed you, we have discussions on the course level navigation. And to create discussions, you would click on discussions and you'll have a number of options available to you. Here you'll have, we have pinned discussions, we have active discussions, and then we have discussions that are closed for comments. So the way that you'd add a discussion is you simply click add a discussion, add your topic, and add whatever content prompt that you would have for discussion. You can add insert documents. So yesterday I uploaded some files into the course. So I'm going to choose from course documents. And I'm just going to click on my sample discussion 1 assignment here. And you can add images, you can add whatever maybe in your case, you added a data set and have a prompt. You can attach files. And we have 2 types of discussions in here. You can do a focused discussion. So that's where you have a prompt, introduce yourself, and everybody just introduces themselves and there's no threading in that at all. You can also allow threaded replies, and so that students can respond to one another. So sometimes you'll want the threaded, sometimes you just might want focus so that it doesn't get to be a real drawn out discussion. An important box to consider when creating a discussion is the users must post before seeing replies. I think we've all probably been in a situation where someone's late to the discussions for the week and they see everybody else's responses, and that might frame their response rather than them really coming up with something fully original. So it's a good idea to click the users must post before seeing replies. You can grade discussions, and if you choose to grade it automatically creates an assignment shell for you, and then you can go into that assignment shell and develop it out a little bit more. You can allow students to like one another's discussions. And you can add discussions to the students' to-do list, which shows up on their dashboard. And you can put the date for when you want that discussion reminder to show up. So maybe you want to, if the discussion starts on the 18th, you might want to put a reminder starting on the 16th. And remember, any dates you put in here, you can always put a timestamp as well, but you don't have to put a timestamp. So let's say I want this discussion to go to the to-do list on May 16th. And you can, if you want to have your discussions eventually close so that people aren't constantly adding to them throughout the term, because that can feel a little confusing to students too, you can have open and close dates for your discussion. So you can have a discussion, open at May 12th and maybe close it May 19th. And when they close, they end up on that lower field in the discussions where it says closed for comments. So I'm going to choose to have this be a graded discussion. So I'm going to click this box. And then some grading options show up. You have to make it worth something if you want it to be graded. You can have it be 1 point if you want. You can have it be 10 points, whatever you want. You can display as percentage, complete, incomplete, points, letter grade. When we talk more about grades on Thursday, we'll talk about adding your own grading scheme into Canvas if you have your own that you would like to use. And you can put it into an assignment group. I've already added a couple of assignment groups in this course, and we'll get to that a little bit later today. But I'm going to add this to my discussions assignment group. And I'm assigning it to everyone, and I'm going to have it due on May 20th. And I'm going to have it available May 14th through the 20th. And then I'll click save. And there's my discussion. So if I go to discussions, now I have a discussion here in the active discussion field. You can also click the ellipsis here and you can pin the discussion, and then it shows up right at the top. So if you want to have your most active, most recent discussion at the top, you can pin it. And then once your discussion closes, then it will show up down here on the bottom. You need to make sure that you publish your discussion. You'll notice I added it here and I pinned it, but I did not publish it. This little crossed out circle here means it's not published. So I can simply click that, and now that discussion is published, so my students will see it once it reaches the available date. Any questions? So let's jump into assignments and take a look at that discussion. So here's the assignment shell for that discussion I just created. And if I want to come in and add any more information to it, I can do that. And then you just click save. So that is how, in a nutshell, how you do discussions. One very important point is students can also generate discussions. They can create new discussions in here. You might not want that to be an option for all your classes. You might not want it an option for any classes. You might think it's the best thing. So you might think it's great. But if you want to turn off the option for students to generate their own discussions, their own discussion thread, then you would click here, and the student session settings, right now it says create discussion topics. If I don't want students to do that, I need to unclick that and save settings. So that's good to know. And you can turn that back on anytime in the class. You might have it off the first half of the semester, and then you want to encourage students to create discussions midway through. Okay, so that's discussions. And discussions is the same equivalent as what forums were in WISE if you use WISE. And one thing, Heather, have you been using WISE? Okay, I'm going to attach one more thing for you here. This is a crosswalk of basic tool names between Sakai, which is what WISE is, the LMS and WISE, and Canvas, so that you have. Okay, so let's jump into modules. First of all, I'm going to go home here. Now, just to review from yesterday, we have two different kinds of hidden icons in our course level navigation. The bottom four are pages that are disabled. They've been disabled in the course. This hidden icon for modules just means there's no content there and it's not visible to students. So it's different. And just a quick review, jump in settings, jump in navigation, and you can modify your course level navigation to what fits for you in your course. And simply drag and drop things you don't want enabled down to the disabled section. Or if you want something that's down in the bottom, the page disabled section to be enabled for your course, and you can drag and drop it up. Oh yes, Heather, we'll talk about that. So anyway, back to the home here. So let's jump in modules for your template, and I say template lightly because it's hardly a template. I have some things in course level navigation in your courses that are disabled that I figured you probably wouldn't use, but you can enable them. And I did put 2 examples of modules, or module shells, I'll call them, because they're not, there's no content, there's just headers in them for you as examples. You don't have to use those. You can create your own. You can rename things in there. But you have module shells that look similar to this in yours. I don't think I put presentations in there, but I'm trying to remember what I put in that one. But that's just for an example. They're not published in your courses now, so students wouldn't even see them. Okay. But if you want to create your own style of module, you can just delete what I have in there. So let's talk about modules. I have 2 that have already been created here. I have one that's a shell, and I have one that I added some content to, just so you can see what different content looks like in here. So let's talk about that first. This module, just each of these is just called a header, and you can nest things under these. Including headers is really helpful for students to draw them exactly to content that is specific to something. And you'll see down here how these headers really just help the human eye find the information they need, especially if you add multiple readings, multiple assignments. It's really helpful to have headers available. You'll notice that some headers are indented, some are not. I'll talk about that. And then items, content that you add to your module takes on an icon depending on what it is. So this first bit of content is a page, and that's the page icon. This one's obviously an attachment. This one is an assignment. So the pen and paper's assignment. And then we have another page for discussions. And then I have an attachment of the week 1 slides. And then I have a quiz. The little rocket ship is a quiz. So those are just examples of the content you can put in here. And you can click and open these things, and you'll see whatever content has been added. Now, you might think, well, if I had 10 modules in here, this is a heavy scroll, lots of scrolling. There's a button here where you can collapse your modules, and then all you see is that header, and then you can just open the one that you need at the time. So that's a really great way to just organize what you're visually seeing at one time. So you can expand and collapse your modules one by one, or expand all and collapse all up here. So let's talk about how we add to a module. So let's say I want to add a reading to a module. So what you're going to do, you always add up here at the parent line with the plus sign. You click the plus sign, whoops, and you have options. So add item to week 1 shell. So let's say I'm just going to add a file. And all of my files for my course that I have in my whole Canvas will show up. So let's say I'm just going to add sample assignment here, just to have a file. And there it is. Anytime you add content to a module, it shows up at the bottom of that module. So you'll need to drag and drop it where you need it to go. And so you get this little crosshair here and you can drag, and I know I was calling this reading, but I'm just going to nest it, even though it says a sample assignment, and you would nest it under where you want it to go. If you want to show hierarchy differently, you can indent things. So for example, if I want to indent my headers, I would just go to the ellipsis for that line and click this and say increase indent to, you can go up to 3. Increase indent, and then I'm going to also increase indent for reading. And then for this assignment, I'm going to increase the indent 3 times. Now, when you actually add items using this the plus sign, and when you add items, you can choose how many indentions you want, how many levels of indent you would like. So I'm going to indent this one 3 levels, add the item. So now it's already over. I don't have to go and click 3 times on my ellipsis. And I'm going to drag and drop that in, nested under. A couple things to know about modules. You can have everything in a module published, and then your students are going to tell you, wait, I can't see the module because you forgot to publish the actual module. So that's one of the biggest bits of service requests are, my students can't see my module. Well, did you publish it? Oh, wait, I forgot to publish it. So anyhow, you want to make sure you publish things. You can have you can choose to have, if you can have things in a module that are unpublished and some things that are published, but once you click the actual publish for the whole module, it publishes everything. So it's top down in that way. If you want to change the title of the module name, you click your ellipsis and you click edit, and maybe you don't want to maybe you want to say class 1. Maybe you organize by class meeting. So that's how you would change the name of your module. If you don't even want to have week 1 or class 1, and you want to name your modules by content, you can do that. You can really do whatever it is you please in here. But I think the most important point is that it makes sense to students, that it's done in a way that makes sense to students. Any questions on how to add a module, add items to a module, or edit items in a module? You can edit any of these names right here as well. You can move things around. You can drag and drop the order of things in your module. It's really up to you. Any questions?
But within these headings, you can't collapse them or anything, can you?
The actual heading, no.
Okay.
You can collapse the module, you just can't collapse within the module.
Sure. I feel like I remember when I was at Oregon State, because I took like a couple E classes there. So
Yeah.
like I said, we were on Canvas too. And then there was some capability of like when you would click on the overview for the week, then it would have like those little arrows at the bottom and you could just go to the next. Like, is this the sort of same thing? Like it'll sort of like take you through the various pages of the module effectively?
Yeah, so that's where if you have oh, the student view.
I'm playing with it too, like as you're
Yeah,
talking.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you can link things in here. So I think you're talking about this right here.
Yeah, I think like the way they set it up with eCampus at Oregon State is that like they use I guess I didn't sort of see the the backbones of this before, but it seems like it's just a lot of these like pages. Uh,
Yes.
and then that like sort of pages within the subheadings, and then that helps
Yeah.
the students to navigate also like, oh, what am I supposed to do here?
Yeah, so I clicked on that first page in there, and if you click
Yeah.
next, it'll take you to the next thing that's in there for you.
Yes.
And so, but that's in student view, and you can always click into student view and see what
I see.
things look like for students. But that's what it is. And so if you had a nicely developed module, you'd be able to click through that. So let me jump into one of these other oh wait, I need to leave student view. So let's just go into one of these demonstration courses that Canvas has in here. So if I go into American history and I go into student view and I go into modules and I click on the first item in this module, and then I can click next, it's going to take me to the next thing. So discussions. And then you scroll down, and if you hover over the next button, it'll tell you what you're going to get to next. So it pops up right there. So that's probably what you're thinking about. And so it allows you to toggle through all the content nicely. So, yes, so that is available. But if you don't have anything in a module, obviously there's not much for students to go next to the next button with. So, and I shouldn't have said kids. Our students are not kids anymore. Anyway, does that answer your question, Heather? Okay. All right. So, back to one other thing I wanted to mention about modules is this kind of gets into really micromanaging a lot in your course, which if you don't remember everything you've micromanaged, it can kind of get you into trouble. But you can also edit your modules to lock them down until certain dates. So you could click lock until, and you can say, okay, I'm going to unlock this module on May 22nd. And then you update your module, and students, even though you've published it, students don't see it. There's a little note down here, will unlock May 22nd. You can also add prerequisites. So where they have to complete an item in the course in order to get access to a module. But like I said, it's a lot of managing. You just have to remember everything you've managed. So another way to organize content, and I don't want to take you away from modules, but some people have actually used pages instead of modules to organize their course content. My advice to you would be, if you're going to do the pages route, would be to put modules in the disabled course pages so that students don't see both. And it might be something you talk about even as a department, do we want to have a level of consistency with how we organize content in a module? An option to you in the future as you get more used to Canvas is, even if you wanted to have a template that's for your department and departments. I don't know the breakdown of your CSDS group, but if you wanted to develop a template and a way that you all are going to consistently organize things, the shell of things, not the actual content, that's something we can absolutely do for you in the future. Because it does get confusing for students if people are doing things completely differently in here, and it's not always logical in the way it's done. So, but anyway, pages can be another way to organize content. So you can, click on pages, and then you can view all of your pages, and you can create a page. And a page is basically, you can title it. You might want to title it week 1. And you have all of your week 1 information in here. You have links to your readings. You have links to your assignments. You have paragraphs explaining things that they need to do. And so everything just goes on the pages. You can insert documents. You can choose when you publish a page. You can just have them all published at the beginning of a course, or you can publish them, at the beginning of each week. But a page is another way you can organize everything. It just gets to be a lot of content in here, but it's definitely an option for you. Let me jump into, let's see what they have in this course for pages. So this particular course has a number of random pages that they've linked to other things in the course. And so they have Bill of Rights introduction, and then they have some information here. So there's a lot of pages, give you a lot of flexibility with, and if you don't like how modules expand and collapse, and the limited ability to, or no ability to collapse within a module, you might consider pages. But like I said, I think that whichever one you choose to do or not do, then just make sure it makes sense to students, and you kind of show them around your level of organization. So I'm just going to see what we have in pages for these other courses. And this one does pages. So they just have information in here, how to be successful. So this is another example of how you can do a page. Preparing for exams. So pages is just another way, week 1 intro and agenda. So this is a great overview for the week on a page. So just another way that you can organize content in a course, what you do each week in the online classroom. So when you have pages in your course, you can, what's nice is, let's say you create a page and then you go in and you edit it and you accidentally delete something and save it, and then you think, oh my goodness. Heather, do you have a question?
You can come back to me if you want. I was
Okay.
It was a little bit earlier, but
I missed that. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. My main thing, I can do it really fast, but I'm gonna play around with this a lot, to try to because I use WISE in a very, very structured way in my classes. So I want it to be all set by the fall. And I have 2 sections of the same class. So is there a capability for me to build it out in one, and for you to be this thing, copy it over?
Yes, and I will show you that.
Oh, thank you, because I was thinking it'll be quite a headache to do that for both my grad classes. But
no, you can copy. Absolutely.
Yay.
So let's say, I gave you the example of, you deleted something really important on a page and you need to get it back. You can go to view page history, and you can go to, this is a terrible example. I'm giving myself a terrible example. And you can click into the latest revision and you can restore it. I've got to go to a different page here. This was a bad example. Let me go on this one. Okay, so I have only 2 in this one. I had a lot more examples in the other demo course because I tinkered around with it so much. So I have May 15th and at 10:14 a.m. and May 15th at 11:36 a.m. So this is my latest revision, what I'm seeing now, but I can click on the revision from 10:14 and gosh, it's not. All right, I'm giving you a bad example. I don't know why that wasn't working. I might need to go grab another one of my courses. I'm going to go into this one. Let's see if I have. Okay, I have a little more revision history here. So let's say I want to go back to my May 9th, 10:45. I can click on that and click restore this revision. It'll take me back to whatever I had before I deleted it and made that big mistake. So that's a nice feature in Pages. You'll get a long list of all your revision history and you can go back to it. Click on it, it'll show you what it is, and then you can click restore if that's what the point at which you need to go back and restore from. But anyhow, just here. And so just creating a page is you just add a page, add your content, put in your information. And another important point is if you do have to go in and revise, edit and revise a page, click the box here so your students know you made a change. So you want to make sure you notify your students whenever you've made a change to something so that they go back in and they look at it, and you might want to highlight your change, something like that. Any questions about Pages? All right, pretty straightforward. And let's just jump into assignments now. So this is what assignments looks like. I have a few things in here. So do you all like to group your assignments into groups, or do you just kind of have one big assignment umbrella and then you put them all under there? Or do you have them by type of assignment and such?
I really just have 2 types, so they're all just grouped within those 2 types.
Okay. So you can add assignment groups. If I didn't have these assignment groups in here, then everything would just be under assignments. But I can create assignment groups and I can have discussions. Maybe I have some test assignments. I don't even know what I do with that, but you can have quizzes. So that when you create quizzes, you create discussions, things like that, you can add them to the specific group that you want. So let's say I'm going to add a new assignment here. And I'm just going to call this assignment, call it 5. And I'm going to insert a document from my course documents. And let's just grab this over here. And then I will, add some explanation for students here. And then I'm going to give it 10 points. And I'm going to have that under let's just put that under sample assignments. I want to display it as points. You can also have assignments that you don't count towards your final grade. So maybe they are true sort of sample or test assignments. You can always click this and it won't be calculated in final grade. You have different submission types, no submission, online, on paper, external tools. So if you have an online submission, they can do text entry, they can do file uploads. You can choose how many attempts you want students to have. And then when you choose text entry or file uploads, the plagiarism review pops up. And this is where you can choose turn it in. If you use turn it in. You can create group assignments. You can do peer reviews. I don't know, do you ever do any of that? Peer reviews, have students. So you can manually assign peer reviews, or you can have Canvas automatically assign peer reviews. And then you can choose that they're done anonymously. And you can say, okay, I want each user to just do one peer review, and they get assigned on May 17th, for example. You can put your due date for the assignment. And like I said, it defaults to 11:59 p.m. If you're someone who likes to have everything turned in by 6 p.m., you will need to adjust this timestamp down here. Otherwise, the assignment will be open until 11:59 p.m. for the date that you choose. And you can have your assignment, even though it's due May 17th, you might want to open it May 8th, for example, and you might want to close it May 20th, so people can submit late, and then there'll be a late flag on it. Remember that box, notify users that this content has changed. So if you go in and you choose to make changes to the assignment parameters, then make sure you click notify users that this content's changed. You can click save if you're not quite ready to publish. Remember, you can publish things in here, but keep your whole course unpublished. So, but you might want to just click the red save button and then publish things later on when you know your course is completely written. What was that?
I'm doing well.
Anyway, that is assignments. If you have an assignment in your assignment list and you want to edit it, you can just click on it and get back into it and click that edit button and make the changes, and then click save. And you all said you don't use perusal, so I'm not going to get involved with that. And yesterday, nobody mentioned they use VoiceThread, so I'm not going to get into that. Now, one thing in modules to show you, you can look at view student progress in modules. Once you're in your modules, you can click view progress, and it'll show you, your students will populate on the right here, and then you can click on them and you would be able to see their progress with all the content that you loaded in a module. So that's a useful setting as well too. Any questions about anything today? Pretty intuitive. The rich content editors likewise. It's pretty easy to just add things, edit, drag and drop. And one thing, Heather, that there is an option to do a migration from Wise to Canvas. I will tell you that I've done a few, it's not real pretty. Things don't all end up where they're supposed to go. But if you ever wanted to be a guinea pig for it, you could try it. It might be easier to just start from scratch here. A couple things, Heather, you asked about sharing course content. Okay, good. Okay.
like if you want to migrate mine just to be like, wow, this one's crazy, you can. But I think with, you know, the components that we've learned, I know I could build it out. But you might just want to do it for fun to see how complicated it is.
You know, it's not difficult, but some things just don't map over nicely.
Yeah,
And you have to
imagine.
just clean it all up and fix it all up, and it's kind of a hassle. So anyway, I was gonna save the importing course content for Thursday. Are you available to attend Thursday?
I might be. I'm actually going to be traveling out of town again, but I will try to be there.
Okay, I'll record it. Any other questions for today? All righty, well, thank you so much for attending, and